6-step carpal tunnel syndrome prevention protocol. The first step to preventing carpal tunnel syndrome is task variation. It is wise to vary tasks throughout the day in order to keep the force and duration of the specific motion to a minimum. If a typical workday involves 5 types of activities, instead of doing task number 1 for 1.5 hours and then moving on to task number 2 for 1.5 hours, it is best if task number 1 can be performed for 30 minutes, and then task number 2 is performed for 30 minutes, and so on, repeating task number 1 to 5 every 30 minutes until they are completed. If this is not possible for the type of work that is required, ask the employer health director to implement a task rotation schedule where workers perform a different type of task every 1 to 2 hours throughout the day, making sure that each task is different enough that it does not tax the same muscle groups in the same manner as the previous task or the next task. It is still important that in these 1 to 2 hour shifts that mini breaks are taken for 2 to 3 minutes every 30 minutes. Implementing task variation is a very successful tool in keeping productivity high and repetitive strain injuries like carpal tunnel syndrome to a minimum. The second step in preventing carpal tunnel syndrome is task requirement limitation. The task requirement limitation protocol sets a limit on the duration and force of a given job or task, making sure that workers are only required to perform a certain number of repetitive movements or a certain amount of force over a specified period of time before a break is required. Implementing a mini break for every 30 minutes of work activity is very important in order to prevent muscle hypertonicity and fatigue from setting in, the main causes of carpal tunnel syndrome. Step 3. Ergonomic systems. Ergonomic systems and tools are important in helping to reduce the amount of stress and strain that is inflicted upon the body. But ergonomic systems and tools by themselves cannot prevent or cure injuries like carpal tunnel syndrome. Step 4. Mini breaks. It is very important to implement short breaks every 30 minutes of work activity in order to reduce stress and strain to the fingers, hands, wrists, and forearms. These breaks only have to last 2 to 3 minutes, but are key in allowing the muscle to relax, which helps to prevent a muscle imbalance from occurring and developing into carpal tunnel syndrome. Even more important in carpal tunnel syndrome prevention is implementing the following activities in these mini breaks. Step 5. Stretch. You need to stretch the short, restrictive muscles in order to lengthen them, which reduces pressure on the underlying muscles, blood vessels, and nerves. For example, carpal tunnel syndrome stretch the muscles on the front of the forearm that flex the fingers, hand, and wrist. Step number 6. Exercise. Strengthen the weak, underdeveloped muscles in order to help shorten and tighten them. Performing strengthening exercises to the muscle groups opposite to those that are short and tight allows the muscles on both sides of the joint to return to a more natural balanced position. The strong short muscles are lengthened and the weak long muscles are shortened, creating equality and stability around the entire joint. For example, carpal tunnel syndrome strengthens the muscles on the back of the forearm that extend the fingers, hands, and wrists. It should be noted, of all the listed ideas, the ones that are most important in preventing and eliminating repetitive strain injuries like carpal tunnel syndrome are mini breaks, stretches, and exercises. By simply being aware and implementing a few simple techniques at work, individuals can prevent repetitive strain injuries like carpal tunnel syndrome from occurring and experience many years of good health without ever being affected. To learn more on how to prevent and cure carpal tunnel syndrome, check out the Carpal Tunnel Master and Beyond guide on the link below this video.